welcome back to the Spiro Avenue Show. We've missed you. Great to have you. I'm excited. We've done a million football shows, baseball shows, basketball shows. I've had lawyers in here talking about murder cases. I've had psychologists in here. There's one big topic that I'm really interested in, something I've always followed and enjoyed and indulged in myself, but we haven't somehow in 3 years touched it on this show. I'm excited. We're going to break the streak, end the drought. I'm doing a poker show. I'm excited for this poker show, and I can't imagine a better poker show guest than a guy who's been to the very mountaintop, Joe Cada, a Michigan local, Shelby Township. Is that correct?
Yep, I'm only about 20 minutes away from here. So
you're a champion in this world. This is like you've reached the absolute pinnacle. That's the top for you guys, right?
Yeah. So not much higher than that, really.
And you were, I believe, the youngest at the time. Is that accurate?
Yeah, pretty lucky there.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. I'm fascinated by the whole luck, skill debate. I know it's kind of 50-50.
Yeah, of course.
So I was interested reading in your backstory, and I believe you're familiar with Tony Paul from the Detroit News. He's done a number of stories. Yeah, I've read a lot of his stuff on you. A good friend of mine, he's been on the show. I think he has a record for most appearances. He's been here like 10 times.
I like Tony.
Does a good job covering you. Half my research was just Tony Paul articles. Yeah. He's a big fan of yours and a great guy in his own right. But I was interested. He talked about your relationship with your parents coming up, and your parents were kind of exactly what I feel like mine would be had I gone your path. Like, what are you doing? This is gambling or whatever. Like, what was that like? Did you get resistance from them?
Well, I mean, I mostly was raised by my mom. My dad, they got divorced when I was early, and my dad worked overseas for the most part. And so it was mostly my mom raising me, my brother, and my two sisters. And it was hard at first to convince her, but she was willing to listen to me and trusted me. The hardest part was just because I was so young that there was no way for me to get money online without her help. So I kind of needed her to put money online for me. So it was like to get her to agree to it. But she started trusting me, and then it started working out pretty well.
So she was a slow developing on board, but eventually got there. Because was it your third bracelet you actually kept for yourself? So the first two, you gave one to each parent, right? Mm-hmm. Was there a little bit of that? Was it just like a sweetheart tribute to, I love my parents and this is for you, mom and dad? Or was like a little bit of that, kind of a competitive, hey, I told you I could do it, kind of here's my trophy kind of thing?
A little both. I wouldn't really, I guess not so much the second part. It's more of just like a symbology of sorts of just this is just as much yours as mine because, you raised me and, you allowed me to get into this and you trusted me. And it's not like I'm wearing it and stuff. So whether I hold it or they hold it or it's theirs, I mean, it's not really going anywhere. So it's kind of part of the family.
Yeah, I don't have any cool shit to hand my parents, man. I could hand them my old participation trophies from middle school soccer and stuff, but I don't have any trophies on that level. So I'm envious of you there. So this is all you do. This is your job, right? You're not also a contractor on the side or
no. I mean, it was never my intention for it to be my career. I started when I was about 14 or 15 into poker, and it was mostly just dabbling in it. It became big with the whole moneymaker boom back in when we were growing up in high school. And I'm not sure about your high school, but it was really popular in mine, and everyone was playing poker at the time. And I was really into video games. I was a big video game nerd, and I was ranked in Halo and different games. I almost went out for MLG for nationals for Halo, but that was a harder way to convince my mom to go out there. But I got into poker. I was doing well, and it was something that I felt like I was good at when I played against my friends, and I kind of started playing online. And I had a job at an earlier age. I started working under the table. I started my first job when I was 14. And then eventually it was win, lose. And eventually after some time, it started clicking, and just over time, just playing a lot and getting better and learning, eventually I found a winning formula basically.
Do you have any anxiety there? If someone said to me, okay, Justin, you have to be sustaining on sports gambling or poker or whatever. Yeah, I've had won some and lost some, but I'd be kind of freaking out every loss, oh shit, can I pay my heating bill? Was there any anxiety? Is there still now, being solely dependent on, I don't know, maybe you don't consider it gambling, maybe it's not to you?
I've been very lucky in the sense that I've never had the traditional like really high ups and downs that a lot of like my friends or other poker players experience, because I don't know, I guess like I started at such an early age and I started working like early, and I wasn't really like withdrawing my money from poker. Like I would withdraw my money when people like my friends would ask for me to transfer them money and they had no way of putting money online, so I'd help like a lot of my friends out getting money online. But I wasn't really like cashing out too often, and I was making money on the side, and I didn't have like, you know, a crazy lifestyle. I was a really quiet kid, and that's all I did was play poker. And eventually it's like I started off playing like small stakes, and you slowly work up to higher stakes, and you slowly work up. So at one point it's like I'm buying in for $20-$50, and like a couple years later I'm buying in for $5,000-$10,000. And it's like instead of having a few $100s to work with, it's like I got a few $100,000 to work with. So it's like by the time I was like 18 or 19, I made like close to $1 million in poker already.
Jesus, man. And I believe you're married. You have kids too, right? Or not yet?
I've been trying.
Okay. So eventually in the plans, but I'm more curious about like the spousal side, and obviously don't share whatever you're not comfortable with, but like where did she like kind of, was she like a high school sweetheart? Like when did she kind of jump in? I'm curious, like what, is it hard to tell like a prospective girlfriend that you're trying to date, like, here's what I do? What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be hard in that aspect of, you know, what are, you know, women's true motives, and, you know, but I'd known her since I was about 15 or 16. I was good friends with her for a while, and we were always friends for a long time. And I was always dating someone else, and she was always dating someone I knew. And then like just over time, like I grew out of my friendship with, you know, who she was dating. We didn't talk in like 5-6 years, and then just kind of like, you know, reached back out, just ran into each other, and just, I don't know, kind of hit it off again. And
were you already like playing professionally then?
Yeah,
at that point?
We started dating like when I was like in my mid-20s.
Okay. So she didn't have any of that kind of like, and I'm going to get to her in a second, like Joe and Rounders where she's like quit. Like,
no.
She was actually supportive.
I had a girlfriend that like that, but you know, it's one of those things where when I first started, I wasn't sure if I was lucky or if I was like good, because you really don't know. There's so much like variance, and there's so much like swings and poker and gambling and anything. But it's like I kept track of all my hands and all my stats. So it's like after 50,000 hands, you're like, okay, I could be getting lucky. After 100,000 hands, you know, it starts getting a lot harder. It's like, wow, you really have to be on the good side of things. But then after you start playing, you know, 500,000 million hands, and you can see just like, you know, the graphs and what you should be winning and your win rate and everything. At that point, it's like, okay, there's no more luck. I'm, you know, good at this. There's proven results. You know, it's just simply statistics at this point. So, you know, I was convinced, and I didn't really have to like, you know, take other people's advice. I felt confident in myself.
You said you're a Rounders guy. I don't know many people our age, like we're within a year, we're basically the same age, who aren't Rounders guys. It's kind of our movie coming up. And we have a couple clips. I want to start here, though. Ben, can you roll this? I'm curious for your take on the Matt Damon, Mike McD take here on skill versus luck in the game of poker and where you stand on it. Ben, can you roll that, please?
Why does this still seem like gambling to you? I mean, why do you think the same 5 guys make it to the final table at the World Series of Poker every single year? What are they, the luckiest guys in Las Vegas? It's a skill game, Joe.
Obviously, a lot of skill involved. What's the split, like in percentage-wise? 20, 80, you know, in favor of luck? What is it for you?
I mean, it's like, it's so hard to like actually put an actual number on it. But if I would have to explain it, it would be almost like if you were to go play blackjack against a casino and you didn't count and you just had your basic, following your basic blackjack sheet, and the casino has like a % edge. It's like you're going to win a lot of hands of blackjack, but you're also going to lose a lot. And it's kind of how poker is. It's like, I'm going to lose a lot of hands of poker, but like all you have to do is have a few % edge, and then it's going to show like tremendously if you play enough hands. So it's tough to tell you like what % is luck and what % is skill, but you can like a good poker player with like a lot of results and a lot of like data that can tell you like an expected like what's your like ROI, like what you expect for your win rate to be in certain fields. But it's hard to tell like what % luck, what % skill.
I would think it's kind of situation dependent. Like if you're going up against Ben and I,
yes,
it's a skill game, and we're probably in some trouble. I mean, like, we know what we're doing, but not. I mean, come on, it'd be a problem. But like, if you're playing against other World Series of Poker champions, now I would think like, okay, well, everyone at this table is skilled at that point, at least at a similar level, and then luck may matter more, right?
It also like depends on like kind of almost like the variables in the situation. Like if you have like a really fast tournament, like where it's structured in a way where it's going to end in one day, it's really quick. It kind of forces the action. The edges start getting smaller, and then it's more like gambling, and you have a better shot. But like say something like the main event, that's like a 10-11 day tournament. So like your casual players to last like 10 or 11 days without ever getting knocked out, it's a lot harder for like those players to succeed in those kind of structures. But there's a lot of tournaments out there that are catered for your pros and amateurs, where anyone can win, really.
If anyone looks your name up, Joe Cada on Google, this is the most common picture I see is you with the stack of chips. Ben, if you can throw that up. I think it's your Wikipedia picture as well. This is the one I saw the most in prepping for the show. And I can't imagine that feeling right there. Can you talk about 5 minutes before that last hand, like getting that, what that whole experience was like? Just kind of take me through that. I can't even imagine that moment there.
Honestly, like that moment right there is, I feel like the best word to describe it would be almost like relief. Like playing that long, and like you basically become like attached to the tournament, and like the amount of money is on the line and the amount of people watching. And for those that didn't know, at that time, it's like you played the main event, and once you made it to the final table, they delayed it like 2.5, 3 months. So we finished in July, and we had to wait in November to go play the final table. So it's like leading up to those, like November, you're like, I would have dreams like, am I taking ninth? Am I taking first? Like, you didn't know what was going to happen. And there's like some like millions of dollars on the line. So once it came to playing and everyone watching, and just like the build up, and like just the final table itself took over 20 hours to finish. So at that point, I was more like, I just wanted it all to be over with, and I wasn't really getting to enjoy like the experience in the moment so much.
Is there like a mental kind of process in your head as you're sitting there for such a long period? Are you kind of talking to yourself, and like, do you have a mantra? Like I've always been fascinated by these guys that are sitting there for hours and hours and hours. And like, if I sit there for 3 hours outside with my friends there, and I'm like, fuck, I start like raising out everything. I'm just like, want to get up and go do something else. Like, is there a way you maintain discipline for that period?
I guess it like every table for me is a little bit different. I'm almost playing off the mood a little bit. Like I enjoy being social and like getting to like know people at the table and talking and having conversation. Like I try to keep it as like casual and laid back. And even in that kind of like atmosphere, it's like you can say like some people can be like, oh, you're not doing your best at keeping things close to your chest, or like you're not like paying enough attention, or not playing like a robot, blah blah. But at the same time, you're getting off a lot of stuff too. Like you're getting to learn about who you're playing against, and it's just like being fun and social and making it enjoyable for everyone. So it's like, but sometimes you get those tables where it's like it's very competitive. Not many people are talking. A lot of people have glasses or headphones on, or it's a really big moment for some people. They just don't want to talk. So sometimes I mostly just kind of play off the vibe of my table, really.
Is there, like in your industry, your profession, is it similar to the Masters where like, okay, once you win the Masters, you have the green jacket, you're kind of, like Shooter McGavin is lonely in the group of the other guys that all have them. And like, you're obviously in an exclusive club, but like when you go around poker rooms, does that carry a certain cachet once you have crossed that threshold, which you have?
Yes and no. I mean, I remember at first after winning the main event, it was like I was looked at almost in a light of like I was a worse poker player, and I was this like lucky kid that, because the way I won the main event, like I got extraordinarily lucky at that final table, and like no one really knew my background. Like no one knew like the amount of hands I played online and the stakes I was playing online, and like my success before that. So everyone just saw what they saw on TV and saw like, and plus like the main event final table took over like 22 hours to play. And at the time, ESPN, it's like an hour of footage with commercials. So they're going to portray like any story they want. It's almost like a movie. So it's like they're only going to show the hands I'm getting lucky in because that's kind of like the storyline that's taking place. They're not going to show the hands that I like played well or like the hands that, you know, I called. They're just going to kind of put the story together how they want to see it fit. Like, but it's like, I did get extremely lucky. That's the case. But it's like, you don't get to see like the entire story of like the 22 hours. But now it's like when you watch the main event, they show everything live. So it's, you get to see all the hands for the entirety of it.
No, and you can't luck your way that far. Like you may have steps along the way, but even I know you're not going to walk your way to the crown in that case. There's just too many hands, right?
Yeah, I was actually, it was like, I was really surprised because I was never at risk of getting knocked out of the main event till the final table. So like the first day I started off as one of the chip leaders of the tournament. So I always had like a lot of chips. I was never like ever all in at risk of getting knocked out till actually the final table started.
Did people resent you in your industry? You know, you said kind of wrote you off as young, lucky kid. Like, did you sense some resentment, Brett?
Oh,
there?
yeah, 100%. Like, it was mostly from a lot of like the old school players and the live pros, because also I was at the final table with Phil Ivey and Nick Schulman, who are like regarded, you know, as, you know, live pros, and Phil Ivey, obviously the best player in the world. So it's like these old school players wanted to see them succeed, and like, you know, for me to get lucky in this kid and like the whole online poker boom and this like new, like, you know, era of like up and coming kids and online kids, it's like they didn't really like respond well to it.
I mean, I could see, like, I mean, you would have been what, like 22 at the time, 21?
Yeah, when I was 21.
I mean, ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember Mike Matisow came up to me at like it was the 25K NBC like National Heads Up Championship. And he came up to me at like the party and he's like, just want to let you know, I think you suck at poker. And it's like, you fast forward to like, you know, 10 years later, it's like he's coming up to me asking questions, like, you know, holding me in like high like regard and just like asking me for advice, and, you know, changed his opinion on it. But, you know, that's the thing about poker. Everyone's like really quick to make judgments. I don't know. It's weird. So
you win that incredible moment, that prize, that tournament in 2009. You're getting the, you know, blowback, resentment, whatever, people writing it off as luck. Did that create a chip on your shoulder where like, you know what, fuck you, I'm going to prove you wrong going forward? Because you've had a number of successes subsequent to that.
Yes and no. I mean, it was almost like I kind of always took criticism not the best. Like, I know in school I was always like quiet and shy just because like I was really competitive, and like when someone said something to me, like I don't know, I took it so personal, and I was just like, I started kind of getting in my own shell and becoming quiet, and like I kind of found poker, and it was like my way to be really competitive. And once I won the main event, it kind of put me in the public eye. Like before, it's like, okay, I can keep to myself, I can play online, no one has to know who I am, like I can be shy or whatever, and you know, it's not a big deal. It's like, and then all of a sudden it's like, I win the main event, I sign a contract with like a big poker company, and now they're like pushing me out there, doing interviews, go to this, go to that. So now it's like people are forced to like have an opinion, and it's like, I don't know, I didn't take it really well when I was that age.
I mean, you seem pretty chill to me. Like even watching you play, like you're very stoic. I would be kind of waving that shit in front of everybody's face. You have a little more class than I do, maybe. But like I have to think that's such like a fuck you, but in a good way that would fuel you. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just like kind of how like I was raised, and just like me like going through the rough times of when I was younger, and like terms of like just like the depression and like high school and stuff, and like working your way out of it. And I had like early success in poker, so it was like the money wasn't like completely new to me. Like I always could like had the freedom to do like kind of what I wanted to. I mean, it's a big extension to freedom, obviously, but I don't know, I guess it never really changed who I was, and it just made things a little bit easier. Did
you have people hitting you up? I mean, you so publicly win this large sum of money. Did you have like guys you haven't talked to since middle school asking for loans and shit?
Like, I became really bad at my phone because my phone was always blowing up, and it's like over the time, like from then till now, it's pretty sad to look back at like how many like people took advantage or stole, or how many times I just got stolen from in general. It's kind of like, it's very weird and bizarre. It's like I was kind of naive to the sense of like trusting a lot of people.
Like stole how though? Like they went into your piggy bank kind of thing? Like,
I mean, I have stories from all over about how like stealing. I mean, I remember one summer I was in Brazil, or I was just in Brazil for a trip, and I went to look at my bank account. I thought I had some money like it looked like I had some money missing. I started looking through, and all of a sudden I see a check for like $10,000. I'm like, I didn't write no check for 10,000. All of a sudden I started looking back, and it's like another check for 10, another check for 10, like 8, 5. It was like over like 12 checks or 13 checks totaling like 60 some thousand. Like I had a friend that went in my room and stole my checkbook because he was friends with my roommate at the time. And when I was in Vegas, stole my checkbook and was writing fake checks to himself, signing it to his name, just forging my signature, and stole like over 60K in checks.
Did he not think you were going to discover that? It's not even like that brilliant of a crime.
I called my roommate up at the time. I'm like, Josh? He's like, yeah, he's over right now. I'm like, he's over the house right now. He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, put him on the phone. I'm like, and he puts him on the phone. I'm like, you're an idiot. I go, first off, like, why would you make it out to yourself? Like, you didn't even make it out to cash or anything. He's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm like, okay, you can act stupid, but my next call is to the cops in the bank to, report everything, and, good luck with everything. And I don't know, that's just one. And like, I opened up a business one time, was against, like the dealers were stealing, like the person who I opened up the business with was stealing. I had a few friends over one time, and had like, it was like a few days after like me and my girlfriend broke up, or my ex-girlfriend broke up, and she left like all her jewelry on like out in the open. And it was like friends that I trusted. And I didn't have my watch on. I actually left my watch, like normally I have it at the bed and when I sleep. And I woke up, I had a nightmare that everything was stolen. I woke up, my watch, all the jewelry gone, like 40, 50K worth of stuff. The list goes on and on. It's just like nonstop.
Well, it's
really
similar.
bad.
Like it's similar. You kind of have the curse of the lotto winners. Yeah. It's just like in a different way. Like you didn't just buy a ticket. Like you actually fucking worked and did it. But it's a similar phenomenon, right? Like you're coming into this large sum of money suddenly and very publicly. Like did that seem alienating for you? Like did your circle just socially shrink by default? Did you feel like you had to keep a tighter knit circle? Like what was that like?
Well, at first it was like I was naive in a sense. Like I didn't think these things happened until it's like you start have to reflecting on what's going on around you, and start making your circle smaller. But it also it's weird because it makes you trust people less, and it's you just look at people differently. It's it was happening in all different ways too. It wasn't even just directly stealing too. It'd be hey, can I borrow money? It's you're never getting paid back because they don't think you need it. And it's then you start after learning how to tell people that, hey, I'm not going to borrow money, or it's you come up with excuses. And I don't know, there's just so many different ways that, people take advantage.
Did you get that money back from the 60K check guy? What was the final?
Yeah, I got the bank actually refunded me because I complained to him because I did all my checks too that he signed was all Joe, and I signed everything Joseph in my bank, and he was copying how I wrote signed signatures because he saw how I signed signatures. I'm was it not suspicious that this kid was writing all these personal checks, signing a way that I never sign, and no red flags or anything? They're you just have so much stuff coming in and out that we didn't really pay attention.
Well, I mean, I guess that part of it is a good problem to have, but not the smartest criminal, that guy. You're gonna get. I mean, I know Shohei Ohtani's he got jammed up worse than you did, and that went on for a long time.
So weird.
I think he's actually completely innocent and oblivious, but my friends all think I'm nuts and naive. But to me, follow the evidence. There's no evidence he had any idea. There's a ton of evidence that this other guy ran everything as interpreter.
I mean, it can easily happen. It's he's so busy with baseball and so much stuff happening. And it's you think he put the right people in place to manage certain things, and it's people are how do you not notice that much money missing? It's I don't know. I didn't notice a lot of money missing sometimes too. It's
yeah,
you're just not always checking your bank account all the time.
Well, and I mean, not to say it to be a dick, but you're in a different financial situation that you've placed yourself in than a lot of other people are. Typically, the wealthy guys are not the ones saying, how could this happen? They actually kind of get it. And it's more not not poor, but just, people that are not in that sort of upper 1%. They don't understand, how could you not realize $1 million is missing. Well, if you don't have $1 million, it's like you would realize, like I would probably realize about 5,000 is when my sirens are going off. I don't have what do you lose, like 15 million or something like that?
Yeah.
It's insane. I don't have that much.
But
to
like
lose,
how much is he making? It's like, who knows?
Well, that's the thing. He'll be fine. He's making 70 million a year, even with those, what is it? Deferred is like 68 of the 70 or whatever. Yeah. I'm with you. Like, it's not that crazy when you think about wealth at that level. So we talked about Rounders. I have one more Rounders clip.
All right.
I'm a Mike McD fan. I'm a supporter. I root for him. I respect his game, his fictional game. I don't know what he's doing here. Ben, can you roll the second Rounders clip? I think this is just bad by him. I want to get the expert's opinion. Let's assess Mike McD's strategy here in the final table, the final scene here.
I'm laying this down, Teddy. Top 2 pair. It's a monster hand, I'm gonna lay that down. Because you got 2-4, and I'm not gonna draw against a made hand.
The fuck did you lay that down?
The rule is this. You spot a man's tell, you don't say a fucking word. I finally spotted KGB's, and usually I'd have let him go on chewing those Oreos till he was dead broke. But I don't have that kind of time.
Okay, this is insane, right? I mean, I'm the amateur, you're the pro. Stick to the first thing he said. You spot the tell, you shut your fucking mouth. Who cares? I don't have enough time. What advantage is conferred? You're going to rattle him so much? What's your take? Is he crazy or is he onto something there?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of movie dramatics. I mean, obviously, if you know a tell for someone or he spots a tell. I mean, it was the first time he spotted the tell too. So it's like, how certain is he? Like, that's the first time he actually fully went with his read, with his tell that he, just spotted. So it's almost like, to me, it's like verification and like, do you have the right read? Like, he almost wants to know if he's like correct or not by like telling him. But it's a movie, so who knows?
Oh yeah, I'm just like, but a lot of parts of the movie I've been told by other people, not quite at your level, but do play professionally, that like it's actually pretty good with a lot of the poker stuff.
It's not bad. It's pretty good for the most part. There's some scenes where you're just like, all right, that would never happen, but for the most part, it's pretty good compared to other movies. Like, you look at other movies, it's like Royal Flush versus Four of a Kind versus and it's all dramatic.
We're getting to one of those in a second. I have one of those, and we're not playing the scene, but we were talking about one of the characters and exactly what you're talking about. Like, that's got to be the worst tell of all time. He either eats the Oreo or doesn't.
Yeah. I think it's like how he breaks it apart or something, whether it's like...
Well, it's like he either eats it or he puts it back.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not correct. Maybe I'm wrong, but like, because earlier in the movie he puts it back when he doesn't have it. So I don't know, but I don't see any benefit to calling that out. Like, is the whole spotting the tell thing? I know it's not a fable. I know it is a component, but like at your level, you're playing professionally. Like, how many guys are really giving anything away where you're like, I got him. If he does this, I got him.
I mean, I don't go by it. Like, I go by it very little, like if at like almost like none. But other people are different. People like really like believe in like, reading like their opponent or whoever they're playing against or looking hard for tells. I'm not really that type of person. Like, there's certain things I'll do and then I'll do it again when I'm bluffing, just to like kind of make sure. I'll keep in my head of like, okay, I did this when I like had it, and then I'll make sure I'll do that again, like if I don't have it. And I mean, I try to keep like awareness of like what I'm doing, but it's almost too hard to like look into like certain tells. But amateurs, like, it's not just like tells, physical tells. It's almost like their demeanor, and like, it's more of like their betting, like the way they like their betting patterns is like a tell, like whether they're betting like there's certain sizes they pick and like how fast they're doing it or how much time they gave thought in the hand. It's like those are more tells than like actual like scratching of the face or the Oreo or something like that.
The scene when all the Rounders go to, was it like Atlantic City, and they just clean up the tourists and they make a big thing of that. Is that something like you would experience? Like if you just went up to a poker room in Detroit right now, like would you just destroy them? Like if it's mostly amateurs at the table?
It's hard to like, I could, and it could go bad. It could go good. I remember when I had my poker room, my charity room. At first, I'm like, all right, it's a good idea to like, I had it under my dad's name so I could play at in the room with everyone and just play 1-2 small stakes. So like people got to play with me, people got to beat me, and it's like, I thought that would be a good experience for people. But I noticed like over time, it's like every day I was cashing out like up $1,000, up $2,000. I'm playing small stakes, and all these people are coming in losing like $100-$200. And then I started feeling like, am I hustling these people? Like, am I inviting these people to my bar and just like taking their money and just like? So I didn't know if it was like the right thing to play or the right thing not to play and just like socialize. So I don't know if I play in like with your casual players in a cash game over like a extended period of time, I'm gonna win like a high majority of the time.
I want to play against you at some point, but at an amount where I know I'm going to lose, so I won't be mad.
The thing is, like, you're going to win a lot too. It's like you're not going to really just lose. It's not going to work like that.
No, I mean, you have the better hand. You have the better hand.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, I'm going to take you down. But I feel like if we played 100 hands, I would not make it to the 100 hands. But I'd love that. Like, is it hard for you to find like a friendly game? Like if I were your friend, I like wouldn't want anything to do with playing against you personally. Like is that difficult?
I can find games. Plus it's like now it's like I don't play at the same like rate as I used to play. Like when I would have way more confidence when I was younger than I do now. Like I play smaller stakes than I do now than when I was younger. Just because like I was putting in so much time and effort when I was younger, where it's like now it's more laxed, almost like I decide when to play and when not to play. So I'm not like in that like competitive environment where it's like I'm playing at the like very highest stakes and against like the best of the best, and I'm trying to like be at the top of my game. It's more of like, I handpick where I'm playing and what I'm playing, and I'm more doing it casually now than like trying to be at the top.
Yeah, because you've already been there, so you can handle it at a more methodical, casual pace at this point.
Yeah, I think like when I was younger, I would look at like, you look at like Calvin Johnson and like Barry Sanders and like say like Andrew Luck. It's like, how are these guys like retiring early when they have like all this money like potentially like left like in their careers, and like why are they deciding to leave the game early? Like I could never really understand it. I'm like, you're not going to get that chance at that age again to make that kind of money. But it's like once I won the main event, it was like some people it's going to even push you to go further and like really like I want to be the best ever, or it's going to be the opposite where it's like, okay, like I put so much time into this, like, time's a valuable thing. Let's, have other balance in life. Let's do other things. And, money's not the end all be all. So it's like, I think there's two different perspectives to have about that. And over time with poker, it was kind of like, hey, I'm successful at this. Like, let's try other things. Let's not like put all our time into this.
I mean, you're damn good at it, man. I wish I were as good at anything as you are at playing cards, and like what it's done for you is so cool. I love like the local story too. We've had a couple now. I know you've met Ryan Reese at some point, and you're on opposite ends of the rivalry. I'm curious about him in a minute, but like one of the cool things about what you do is you have a lot of these just weird, unique celebrity interactions that normal people don't unless you bump into them on Rodeo Drive. Like I had heard that you had done something with Vince Vaughn. I found it. Mm-hmm. We'll play a clip from that. Like Vince Vaughn, one of my favorite actors forever. We're the same age. We grew up kind of like in the peak of the Vince Vaughn era. Ben, if you can roll that, I'm dying to talk about the Vince Vaughn experience here.
As our WSOP Master of Ceremonies, Vince Vaughn jumps into the deep end of the poker pool against the best players in the world in this super turbo heads-up match. With ace high.
All in? I'll call.
Wow, here we go.
Ace of hearts.
Ace of hearts, I can survive.
Yes. We'll make it.
Let's see if
six.
4, 5, 4, 5. I need a 6, right? 6 or an ace.
Genius. Thank goodness he knows how to act.
No.
Well, it was good.
That was fun, man.
Very
I
nice
enjoyed meeting to you.
Very
Good
nice
luck
meeting
to
you. Thank
Is there any interaction with Vince Vaughn other than nice to meet you? Like, did you talk to him after or before this whole thing? Like, what was?
I talked to him a little bit. I didn't get to talk to him like too much before and after, but a little bit at the table. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool, like getting to meet like celebrities and, you know, different sports guys or different people where they're really into poker and they're like, oh, you know, it's really nice meeting you. It's like, whoa, that's kind of weird. Like, it's like, I've been a big fan of yours for a while. It's like, I'm a big sports fan. So it's like really cool to meet some of these sports figures who like love poker too.
Like, does Jennifer Tilly still play, or like Shannon Elizabeth?
Yeah, I don't know about Shannon Elizabeth. Jennifer Tilly always plays.
Yeah, she's like a pretty like legit player, right? No, not really.
I mean,
you can tell you're talking to an amateur. Like, I casually follow this stuff. She's not that great.
I mean, I wouldn't really put her much more than casual.
Okay,
like, she probably plays way more than casual, but like if you're a professional poker player, you're pretty happy to have her at your table.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, you very diplomatically stated. Like, have you met her? Is she cool?
Yeah, she's nice.
Yeah.
Nothing against Jennifer. It's just, you know, you're happy if you have her at your table.
Yeah, no, I understand.
She's a good personality. She's like good when she loses. Like, she's not like, you know, a robot like some of these people are. So it's like, I don't know. It's good to have her.
Have you seen the meme with like Kim Kardashian wearing the mirrored glasses?
Oh yeah, where you can see like her cards. Yeah.
Is that real? Like, did she actually do that shit?
I mean, some people like I feel like that is real. Like, some people do wear glasses where like literally
but you can see her cards.
Mm-hmm.
What is she doing?
You'll really be like, it's bizarre. Some of the things like you see, like a couple times, like I'll be at the table and someone pick up their cards and they'll hold it out to here. It's like, dude, like half the table can see your hand. And it's like, you might want to protect your cards. And like, you tell them, it's like next hand, same thing. It's like, hey, I can see what you have. And it's like, they don't really like give you any, like, they don't really like do anything to like protect themselves. Like after you tell them too. And it's like, okay, it's like, I know what you have, but if you don't want to like cover your, like, I don't even try to like look at all. But some people, I don't know. Some people are really like strange when they play.
I'd say that would piss me off if I'm across from you, because if this guy can see, oh, that's one of my aces I need, he's got it. Like, that's going to fuck me potentially.
There's this cruise I do every year. It's with Norwegian Cruise Lines. I help host it and help run it kind of in a way. But you see all kind of crazy things on that cruise ship. It's like, everyone's like, it feels like it's everyone's first time playing. So it's like you see the craziest stuff on that ship.
Like, such as? I'm very interested.
Like one guy, like we were at the final table and, you know, first place is over 100,000 and, you know, ninth is like maybe like 8 or 10K. And there's like big jumps in between and stuff. And there's this one guy at the final table where it's like, when he would go to raise, like he would put out his chips and then he would take his hand and put it in the middle of the table. And like, majority of the times the dealer would take his hands and put it right into the muck and like, and he'd be like, oh no, what happened to my hand? The dealer's like, you gave it to me. At one time he made a scene because he said he had aces, which we believed him. He was an older guy and it's like, he never made the scene like that before. He had like so many hands that just kept going into the muck and he just never learned his lesson. He would just put his cards. It's like, you made it through like 600 people. How did you make it through 600 people and this is happening? And then like, me, him, and this other guy, we all have like the top 3 stacks of the table. And we get in this hand together where it's like, we all have like 30 some big blinds, which is like a decent amount of chips. And like everyone else has like 5, 6, which is very small. So we could just wait it out and we'd be top 3 or at least top 4, top 5. And there's this hand where the flop comes 10, 9, 8 and he has 4s and he bets like 2 big blinds and the guy goes all in and they're like the 2 biggest stacks and he just calls. Like the guy could have a 10, a 9, a straight, 2 pair, a set. Just calls. Like the guy had 2 pair and he's like, all right, I'm out. And he went out 9th. And it's like, what's going on?
Why do that with pocket 4s? What are you doing?
It's like, you see all kind of stuff. But I mean, that's poker though. It's like not everyone's professionals. Like a lot of people, majority of the people are, you know, amateurs.
Can it be harder to play against an amateur though? Because it's like they're doing all sorts of wacky shit. Like, why are you in this hand with this 2-7 offsuit? And then
I mean, you're gonna see things that you don't normally see. And, you know, some things are going to get you. But, you know, in the long term of things, like they're making big mistakes and big spots. And it's like, not everyone's going to make those big mistakes, at least a professional. And they're doing things that you can read into more, like bet sizing, or they're not being balanced, or they're like giving stuff away more. Where a professional, it's like, it's kind of hard to understand exactly where they're at or what they're doing if they have a good balance and like bluffing and having it and stuff. So.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by like the whole spectrum because you're dealing with really disciplined people. You're dealing with fucking people trying to stand on the table. I've seen weird shit too. Obviously not in the depth of it that you are, but I've played at tables and people just say weird shit. You don't like, you get some weirdos at casinos generally.
Like I noticed like because I've played a lot more online than I have live, but I've been in big spots, won big tournaments in live, and I had a good track record live as well. But live is much different than online because I feel like you can really like tell people's emotions too. Like in like tournaments like the main event, like when someone has a lot of chips and they lose chips, they think about how many chips they had and like how can they get back there, and they start forcing things, they start bluffing a little bit more, they start getting a little bit more antsy. Like you can literally visibly see when people are like win a big pot and they're like they have it locked down, or like they want to make it to the next day, or they're talking to you how big of a it is. You're like, okay, that guy's not bluffing for a little while, and you can tell the people that are like unhinged and they're like ready to go off the rails, and you're just like, all right, just got to find my spot to pick that person off.
Hey, have you seen Casino Royale, like the Bond? Yeah, I figured, and I do have a question about that later, but like the scene where Vesper Lynn comes in, and I mean Ava Green is just so hot in that movie, but whatever. She comes around and like I think by Bond's request, and like was it kisses him or whatever, like at the table.
It's been a while since I've seen that, but
well, okay. I mean, but he wants his girl, not his wife, but obviously his girlfriend, to sort of distract other players and stuff. I'm just curious, like, do you want? I mean, now you're married, but like before, even girlfriend, now wife. Do you want like your girlfriend / now wife anywhere near the poker room? Like, does she attend your tournaments? Like, what's the overlap there?
Yeah, she knows how to play now. She knows, she's actually pretty good. I think she could.
Oh, she plays too.
She does. She doesn't play as much lately, but we did a tournament in Chicago with do you know Donnie Wahlberg and Jenny McCarthy? We did a charity tournament in Chicago, and there's like 150 people, and she won it, and she won a seat in the main event. So she got to play the main event. She actually outlasted me that year, so she was like really happy. They gave her like the $10,000 in Vegas like right before the day, and she was just looking at the money, and I'm like, she's like, can I just not play it? And I'm like, she should probably play it. You won the event. She ended up playing. She was happy she played, even though she didn't cash, but she outlasted me.
I had no idea she was playing. Was she talking shit to you, going farther than you in that one?
I actually have a funny story. Like, not too many people know this story, but I guess I can say it now since it's all in the past and it doesn't really matter. But like when we first started dating, she wanted to learn poker, so she put $40 on this site called Bovada, and she wanted to learn how to play. So, I was mostly playing in Canada, a little bit in Michigan, because at the time there's only certain sites you could play in the United States. So I was sponsored by PokerStars, so I would go over in Canada and play on PokerStars. But I would help her like learn and like teach her how to play on Bovada. And after like so long, like I kind of stopped playing in Canada. Like my contract expired, and like I kept helping her. And at one point, like we turned her $40 into like a couple thousand. Then like she would go to bed, I would keep playing. Well, after like 3 or 4 months, like her $40 became into like 400,000. And I went to go cash. We went to go cash out, and Bovada, like, here's the thing about Bovada. Like most sites, you have like a screen name when you sit down. Like, okay, this is your screen name. This is who you're playing against. Bovada, it's like every time you sit down, you're just a random number. So you don't know who you're playing against. You can't keep stats on anyone because everything's random every time. Like you don't know who you're playing against the next day, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, it wasn't like I was multi-accounting and playing on 2 accounts or playing at the same table. It was just like, I was playing on this screen name, but they froze the account saying that like, we know Joe's playing on it and it's not you. And that like, basically we're not going to pay you.
$400,000?
400,000. And I'm like, wow, they don't know it's me. Like, and even if they do know it's me, it's like, we're not doing anything wrong. Like we're playing the game straight up. So I wrote a long email pretending like I was her. I'm just like, hey, like a lot of people play on this IP address. Like no one's ever played at the same table. The only reason why you think it's me or it's Joe because I'm dating him, and you just don't think I'm capable of winning this kind of money and stuff. It's like, then I went into detail. I'm like, why would Joe put $40 online and play like 5 cent, 10 cent? And
fair.
Like he has his own account with like thousands of dollars. Like, why would he play those stakes and stuff? And I'm like, I'll go public with this. Like, you guys, eventually they unlocked the account, and
they paid up.
Well, they wouldn't wire the money because they're like, we don't want to wire anyone associated with poker. And they're like, you're dating Joe and we can't wire it to you. So I found like my mom's boyfriend at the time, and they did one wire. And then after that, they're like, you know, he's associated with Joe's mom. He's dating Joe. Like, how do they know like who my mom's dating? Like, and then they wouldn't wire to him. Like, some of these emails were really bizarre. And eventually they're like, we want to pay you out in Bitcoin. I didn't even know what Bitcoin was. And I'm like, okay. So I found a site where, you know, you could cash out Bitcoin, and you can convert the Bitcoin to cash right away. And when I started doing it, it was like, I would cash out 9K at a time. And like, all of a sudden it's like when I would cash out through the Bitcoin, it would be at like 10K or 11K. I'm like, how am I making like $1,000 on like these transactions? This is when Bitcoin was around like $400 or $500. And I had like over 400 and some Bitcoin. So then all of a sudden Bitcoin started skyrocketing. I was like, holy crap, I don't even know what this is. And I got lucky with Bitcoin.
So,
too.
I mean, you cleared a lot more than 400K, I'm guessing, then at that point.
Yeah.
So it's like, thank you for fucking me over at that point.
I remember one summer I sold 50K to just one of my friends in Bitcoin. And by just the end of the WSOP summer, that 50K was worth 500K. I'm like, I'm such an idiot. Like, I lost 450K just by selling 50K worth of Bitcoin.
I'll never get over Bitcoin. I had a buddy tell me when it was like at 280 or 285. You know, he's like, buy some. I'm like, he bought like 2, I think. And he's like, man, you can afford, like, you buy 10, man. Just buy to put a couple grand down. I was like, this is bullshit. I still think it's fucking weird, but scoreboard, I mean, I would have been fucking driving 3 Ferraris at this point. But yeah, the Bitcoin thing, that's kind of it's like those directors that agree to take a lower salary, like in terms like the back end on the DVD sales or whatever.
It's like I don't even know what to be happy or sad about Bitcoins, because like I made a lot of money in Bitcoin. I still have Bitcoin, but it's like I would have just held all my Bitcoin. It's like,
yeah, you would have flown here.
It's like, why didn't I? It's like I continue was making money. It's like, why didn't I just? I don't know. I just didn't know enough, to be honest. And it's like I didn't want to have that much in one thing that I don't really know too much about, really.
I mean, you would have been taking the chopper from Shelby Township to Rochester to the studio, man. Yeah. That's some serious money at that point. The Bitcoin thing is just, it's a whole other. I'm fascinated by that, but a different show.
Yeah.
The celebrity thing, we talked about this before a couple days ago. The Matthew Stafford story. I don't really know your Matthew Stafford story, but I know that you bumped into him in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And Ben, you can throw the picture up, and you had dinner with Kelly. I don't know who the other couple is. Like, what happened here? How did you end up at a dinner table?
So to the right of me in the white is Sam Martin. He was the punter for the Lions. I think he's punter for Buffalo now? Yeah, Buffalo he's the punter for. But I don't know. It's crazy how many people I've actually met in the Bahamas, just like famous people that I went, because they always have a big series, poker series in the Bahamas, and I'm always there for that. But I remember one year I met Tito Ortiz as well, and we became good friends. But in that circumstance, I met Sam Martin just around the casino, and we just got chit-chatting and like found out who he was and stuff. And then he was like, oh yeah, I'm with Stafford. I'm like, no way. And you know, we ended up like, me and him just ended up clicking and becoming friends. And that's their manager next. So that's their manager next to him, Stafford to the right. That's their manager. And then that kid in the black is one of my friends. He's a poker player. He's actually from Chile. It was funny because he didn't know who Stafford was. I'm like, he's the quarterback for the Lions. And this is in front of Stafford and stuff. And he's like, what's a quarterback? And Stafford's like, he's my favorite person.
Oh, Stafford probably loved that guy.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, because he can actually kind of be just a normal dude for once. Stafford like is a normal guy.
He is, and I think he kind of like my interpretation or my impression from Stafford at least was like, I mean, I could have it wrong, but this is like what I got out of the take was like, I feel like at least when he found out I was like a Lions fan, I feel like he thinks that like the general Lions fan like didn't appreciate him, or like kind of like, you know, he got a lot of criticism at times and stuff. But really it's like I would say more people love Stafford, like who are actually sports fans actually loved having Stafford versus like your casuals, but like it seemed like he was kind of standoffish more like when he found out I was a Lions fan, but obviously he opened up and it's like it wasn't like that, but I don't know, it kind of seemed like that at first.
What year was that? Like, do you remember what, like, or even if like give or take a year? I'm just curious on the Stafford career timeline.
When was that?
Because that'll affect how jaded he would have been.
That's probably like a couple years before he got traded.
Okay, so like maybe like 2018, 2019 range.
He was still like really banged up. I know he was telling me how like the season right before he was like basically playing with a broken back the whole season.
Yeah, okay, so I know exactly that. I mean, that was the one injury he had. Like he was hurt at the very beginning of his career and had the like 6-game rookie season. And then he was an Iron Man, didn't get hurt once, and like he had that back injury.
Yeah.
So that was like tail end of the Patricia era, I think.
It's kind of funny, like some of the stories he would tell too. Like I forget what game it was, but he was telling me about how they would always run this play in practice, and it was a fake extra point, and it would just never work. It was just like, he said it was like trash. He was like, it was just garbage play. And he's like, we score a touchdown, and it's like at the end of the game, I forget who it was against, and they call the play, and he's like, he didn't even know what like play it was. He's like over on the sidelines, like basically concussed from the play before, and like, no, just watch, blah blah blah. And they ended up, pulling like he's like, never once worked in practice. I don't know why we called it, blah, blah, blah. And then just worked to perfection during the game. And I don't know, just hearing like different stories about like plays and like practices, I just thought it was so cool.
I thought he got a bad rap. And I mean, my record on him is really well documented. There's a picture somewhere on the wall. Yeah, like at the bottom right there, near the bottom right under the hockey stick, the blade. I'm wearing a Stafford t-shirt. That was right after he went on his Rams Super Bowl run. I told everybody in Detroit, the second that guy gets out of here, he's going to win. Now, since we've actually become a winning organization somehow.
Yeah, it was a good trade for both organizations.
Great, a rare one.
Both teams, you can't really argue. Like, they got a Super Bowl, we got a future, so it's like, how can you go wrong either way?
He has the most interesting relationship of anybody I've ever met on the famous spectrum. I've only met him and his wife at the same time once. It was the Eminem Jay-Z when they did like the home and home Yankee Stadium, Comerica Park thing, whatever year that was, like 2010 or something, 2011. He was young in his career, and we were in a suite with him. Like, she was really nice, but you could tell he just wants to kind of be left alone and chill. Like, he's nice, but he doesn't like the hoopla.
Exactly.
She was like, dangling earrings and really just, hey y'all, it's just, how are these two married? I don't understand. They're both from the South. Other than that, I don't know what else they have in common.
He definitely tried to stay under the radar as best as he could in the Bahamas. He'd always like wear a hat real low, try to like kind of like.
He doesn't like it. He's not on any social media. Yeah, was that Atlantis, the Bahamas? Mm-hmm. At the Atlantis casino, man, like I played blackjack with Ken Griffey Jr. there, craps with Johnny Peralta, the former shortstop for the Tigers. Like, that's a good place.
You see a lot of famous people. One year I went there for the whole tournament series, and I don't know if you know who Tio Ortiz is, but he's an MMA guy.
Yeah.
And I happened to just sit at blackjack and with some friends, and I was sitting next to him, and I was actually like counting that night. And I was like helping him, like tell him like when to up his bets and blah blah blah. And we were winning, and we just kept winning, and like we were getting to talking. And he's like, come back here tomorrow. He's like, we're playing again tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. It ended up turning out like I never went to Atlantis or anywhere really, and didn't end up playing poker. Like the whole trip, I played blackjack with Tito for like a week or 10 days straight, and we won so much money, and like we just became good friends. And one time we were out in Vegas, he's like, hey, I have my fighter who's fighting, she's it's Cyborg or whatever her name was, she was like the #1 female fighter, so like she's gonna win this fight in like 20 seconds, and we're all gonna go out afterwards for her birthday. He's like, come with. So I like go to the fight, and I mean, it was crazy, like just being in like the fight world with this guy. It's like every single person, picture, can I get a picture? It's like you walk everywhere in like Vegas with them, like they're just bombarding him. I'm like, this is nuts. Like, I want to be able to handle this. But we get to the fight, and it's like we're ringside, and like get all these celebrities and famous fighters like behind me. I'm like, this is so cool. And sure enough, she knocks her out in like 20 seconds, and we all go out to the club, and I'm in this booth with all like professional UFC fighters, and there's like 3 belt holders, and I'm like the only person that's not a fighter. I'm like, I don't even fit in here.
But they probably thought you were cool. You said that earlier. Like, I mean,
what's his name? Rashad Evans. He was actually from State. I'm like, one of my favorite knockouts was when you knocked out forget his name. He was from Ohio State. It was like a leg kick, and he just like dropped. But I don't know if he didn't hear me because it was loud, or if he just didn't really give me like attention. But nothing ended up happening with that.
Yeah, I always love like the cross like industry celebrity meetup things, like, you know, even if it's like two athletes, like a hockey player meets a football player, and they always like have this weird respect, like they both view the other as a cool celebrity.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's unique. Like my best friend is a pro hockey player. He's actually, I don't know what the score is. He's actually in the middle of the playoffs right now. He plays for the Colorado Avalanche, and he was drafted by the Hurricanes. He's a Michigan guy, went to U of M for 2 years, got traded, but he was with the LA Kings. This is like early 20s, and he had a little relationship with Michelle Trachtenberg, an actress. I don't know if you know her. She was Harriet the Spy when she was a kid, but she was like in Eurotrip and shit. And like she thought it was the coolest thing to date a hockey player. And he's like, I'm dating an actress.
Yeah,
like, so
it is funny.
It's just like like they both like kind of in a non-sexual way like got off on the celebrity of the other. So it's kind of funny how that works in the crossover. In the poker world, Ryan Reese, I mentioned him briefly. I've never met Ryan. I'd love to have him on the show at some point. He's on the opposite end of the spectrum. He's a Sparty, diehard Spartan. You're a Michigan guy, right?
Yep.
What's like the relationship with him? Like, is he a cool guy? Like, what do you make of him?
Yeah, we're good friends. Like, we're actually pretty good friends. Yeah, his transition to poker was different than mine, but yeah, he's a diehard State fan, obviously, and we always do like fun different bets with like State and Michigan and different stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, he would definitely come on the show for sure.
I'm gonna hit you up for a favor, man.
Yeah, no problem.
that'd be cool. It'd be cool to have him like during Michigan State week or something. Maybe bring both you guys on. You can talk shit about that, and then I can play both of you in cars, and you can see my ass kicked in that. So I'm gonna do the fictional poker. You said you watched Casino Royale, so I think I'm safe here. I'm gonna ask you. This is like a one question speed round question. I'm fascinated. Toughest fictional poker opponent. I picked 4 from 2 of my favorite movies. Who would be the toughest of the 4 here? Mike McD from Rounders, Worm from Rounders, Lashith from Casino Royale, or, of course, James Bond from Casino Royale. 4 completely different styles, I would argue.
I'm going to just have to go James Bond because it's James Bond and he's good at everything. And I don't know. I guess that's my take on that.
He's the only one that could like definitely kick your ass. Maybe Mike McD, but he didn't seem like the type.
Yeah, he seems like the most intimidating out of anyone.
Is the Worm character? I know it's not happening in a casino, but like more in the home games or kind of basement games. Like, is cheating prevalent? Like, if you caught a guy with a not counting cards, like with a was it stacking the deck or whatever it's called? Like, have you seen that?
I've seen some big cheating. Have you ever heard of the movie Runner?
No,
it wasn't a good movie, but it had some big actors in it. It had I think it had Ben Affleck and Justin Timberlake in it, and it was a true story of what happened when I was younger. I was like 19 at the time or 20, and there's this site called Ultimate Bet, and at that time, I was at like my pinnacle of online poker. I was playing at the highest stakes that I could on the website, which was 50, 100 heads up, where you're buying in for 10,000 at a time. And I had over $500,000 on my account at the time, and I started playing this guy heads up. And in 1 week, I lost like around like 150,000. And then I was 19 or 20, so this was a huge amount for me. And I was just like, I can't just keep doing this, like, because this is a path to lose everything. And I never put myself in a position where I could like lose everything. So like when I start losing at certain stakes, I'll move down. If I start winning, I'll move up, so forth. But this was like, it hit me a little bit different. So I cashed out like 300K and I started working my way back up. And anyway, during this time, like a week or so after, this guy reached out to me on AIM, who was a regular who we kind of stayed away from because we both respected each other. And he's like, hey, do you have any hands against so-and-so? Like, this guy's winning at like an abnormal rate. He's playing really weird. Like, he's not losing at showdowns. Like, can you send me any hands you have on him? I'm like, okay. So I sent over the hands. And like, I don't know how much longer later, like a month later or 2 months later, I go to sign on and I had like an extra like $60,000 in my account. I'm like, this is weird. And there was this huge scandal, it was the ultimate bet scandal, where this company, they had this like backdoor code to monitor the games, so you can like monitor if people were cheating or not. But once they sold the company, they never got rid of this backdoor code. Some of these like previous employees still had this access to this code, so they were using this code to see everyone's cards, so they could see exactly what everyone had every hand, and they were just winning nonstop. And they took so much money from poker players.
This sounds familiar. Was this the guy? Was this the same guy that SBF hired for FTX? Like there was some guy.
Oh, he was involved. Yeah, he was a lawyer involved in that.
That was the same story.
He was
right?
a lawyer for the guy involved in that. Yeah.
Okay, I knew. I'm like, this sounds really familiar. I haven't seen the movie and I haven't read deep into the story, but I'm like, this definitely rings a bell. So I didn't know you got fucked in that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much money I got that I lost to the guy, but I ended up getting $60K refunded me. But it almost like it impacted me more so because like it moved me back down the ladder. It's like I had to rebuild everything again. It's like start back from scratch. You lose confidence. It's kind of like a big wake up call. Do I ever want to go that big stakes again? Because the potential. It's like there's been a lot of times in poker where it's almost like I noticed along the way there's some people that like are really, really good at poker, but they just never want to move up. Like they'll be like a 2-4 or 3-6 player, like a $400 buy-in player just forever, because like I don't want to deal with the swings at a higher stakes. And there's people out there that just don't refuse to move up because it's just too much to play for, really. And when I was a kid, I never really looked at it like money. It was more just competition. It was just numbers on a screen, so it was easy for me to like move up and down stakes.
So a lot of people like in the Joey Knish kind of just grinding out the living sort of thing.
Yeah.
I can see that though. Like even the line from the movie about they can't handle the swings and people can't handle no limit. And
yeah, because I known some players that were like middle stakes players that I think would crush higher stakes games, but they just never really wanted to take the opportunity.
I can't believe how many times you've been fucked. Like I've been talking to you 40 minutes. I have like 3 strokes. How do you trust anybody?
I haven't even told you the big stories, but those are other stories.
Oh my God. It's like, it is a definition of a target on your back. I mean, shit. It's great. You found like a spouse you could trust and she's cool and stuff. Like I wouldn't trust anybody outside of my house, honestly. That's the part of the challenge, right?
Yeah. It's life, I guess. You live and learn.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good problem to have. Like some people, I know a lot of guys that there's nothing to take from, really. But still, it is a problem. I want to talk a little bit about Michigan before we get you out of here. I mean, you're just a diehard Michigan fan. You said, hey, like, don't pepper you with X's and O's questions. I wouldn't anyway. It's not my forte, as big of a fan as I am of college athletics and all that. But like, you're off this as a diehard Michigan fan. Incredible 3-year run, which was a lot of frustration before that. 2020 was a disaster, obviously. And then out of nowhere, it seemed this magical 3-year run. The Michigan friends that I have are somewhat lukewarm on Sharon Moore. They thought he was the right guy. He deserves the opportunity. It's the subsequent moves. They don't love the assistants he's hiring, all that stuff. Like, where are you at just mentally? Like, was he the guy? Is he who you wanted? Did you want to go outside of the family? Like, what do you make of the post incredible national championship success run here?
I think it's tough just because, he was like kind of the guy like next in line. Like, it's Harbaugh trusted him and like he was there for the championship, and it's kind of like you're handing it off to him. I get why, some people aren't thrilled about it either. It's a step back, obviously, but it's hard not to take a step back after losing Harbaugh and losing all the players to the draft and everything. But I'm gonna hold my opinion on him and just see how everything turns out. I know I was really patient with Harbaugh. I know a lot of people were calling for him like early and like they weren't happy with him early and stuff. And I was always the guy like, hey, give it time. So I'm kind of more patient. I'm like, and sometimes I just don't think people get like the fair shake of things, because I understand like sports and variance and math and stuff, I think a little bit better than some. Like, for example, like they're like, oh, what's his record against Ohio State, before the success and stuff. It's like, you look at some of those games, it's like, one, it's like you're losing to a top 4-team, 5-team every year in college football, and you're not there yet with the program. And then like some of these games, like you lose by 1 yard. It's like if the spread is 3 points or 4 points, it's like you're in that game. It's like how many years prior, like Brady Hoke or all these, guys before, it's like, were we in these games? We had a chance to win these big games. It's like, yeah, it sucks. He's 1-5 or 1-4 against like the big matchups, or, he's losing his states or whatever. It's like, but it's going to happen in sports. It's like, if you're in the game and you have a good season, I mean, besides the COVID year, obviously, but I mean, I don't know. I just don't think people get a fair shake all the time.
And that, obviously he redeemed his legacy, but the common line I would use, and you and I were in the minority. I'm not a Michigan fan, but I defended him too. I'm on this show in this chair. One of my good friends, Chris Castellani, was saying before the 21 season, so this is fresh off the 2020 disaster, like he should have been out of here the second they lost that Michigan State game to the Mel Tucker team in year one.
Yep.
He was so mad that Harbaugh was even still there. Even I said give him an extra year, but the line was specifically that Ohio State game with the JT Barrett. I mean, you said a yard. It was inconclusive, and if it was anything, it was an inch. I mean, it was. That's and how different is the legacy before it was redeemed if they win that?
Exactly,
they're going to win the Big Ten.
It's like so many play, like especially football. It's like a turnover or just a bad snap, or it's like, I mean, you looking at like what kind of recruits you're getting. You're looking at like what kind of season you're having overall, and like, I mean, I'm a guy that's looking at spreads and like what's the odds of them like before the game. Obviously, in the spread's not everything, but it's like, it's a good measurement of like where you're kind of like measuring up, like even like looking at like preseason odds of like winning the national championship. You can kind of see where you stack up preseason stuff like that, and how the season's going. But I don't know. I guess I have more patience than others sometimes. I
mean, the defensive Harbaugh 2020 was indefensible, but that was a weird year for sports in general. I feel like you can kind of punt that. Now, if we had won the Big Ten in East Lansing, I would say let's embrace it, but. Like, that was a weird year, but for the most part, the key, it's just like I want to be close. I want to be knocking on the door. Like, I'm a big Kyle Shanahan fan. Mm-hmm. He gets a lot of shit. Oh, he chokes in the big games. The guy's in the Final Four, the conference championship, or better almost every year now. He's never had an elite quarterback throughout this process. Garoppolo, obviously, is on his third string quarterback last year, and now Purdy. He's always in it, and eventually he's been one play and 2 Super Bowls away from winning 2 Super Bowls. Don't you just kind of need to be like in it if you're
exactly?
You
just gotta keep. That's the thing about poker too. It's like sometimes like people like oh I keep getting there but I can't close it out, and it's like I'm not, or they're not a closer, or it's like that person can never win a tournament. Blah blah. It's like maybe they're just getting unlucky at the pivotal stage, or maybe they are doing something. It's hard to tell, but if you just keep knocking at the door, eventually it's gonna break down and you're gonna get there. So it's like eventually Shanahan and San Fran, they're gonna win one or something.
I mean, if you keep knocking on the door, you're probably gonna break through at some point. Like I said, 2 point Garoppolo overthrows the guy. They even the year Stafford won, ball should have been intercepted, game over. The guy drops the interception. That was another Super Bowl San Francisco would have been in. And Harbaugh was kind of not quite that close, but was close. He had a lot of seasons where one more win, it's different, and they were close in the one loss. And I like the Sharon Moore thing is interesting. Like any Harbaugh commentary for Michigan fans, I thought was 90% negative pre-2021, like right before. I love looking with Michigan. It pisses them off, but it's their record. I didn't say the shit. I really drive these fans nuts when I point out what they were saying about Harbaugh. They wanted this guy dead. They wanted him.
Oh yeah, no. A lot of Michigan fans were that way.
I checked on your shit. You defended it. You actually did defend him.
Yeah, I was defending Harbaugh. See, like I have more criticism for coaches when like I can see them making like really poor decisions in game, like whether it be like clock management or like decisions to go for, decisions to punt, like. Because like in sports, like it's a matter of inches or just small skill gaps sometimes, or just like such small variances, and you see these coaches like make these decisions that are just like impacting the game in such pivotal ways when the edges are so small in general. That's when I hate to see it. Like I remember seeing some like a professional game where it was like, I forget what game it was. They had the ball at like the 3-yard line. There's like a minute left and they're down by like 4 or 5, and they kick a field goal because they have 3 timeouts and they think they can stop them, get the ball back, and kick another field goal.
That was this year.
This game I'm thinking about was like probably in like 2017 or 2018 or whatever. But it happens all the time. I'm saying like,
yeah,
you just see it. And when it happened, it like on the screen went from like a 60% chance to win to like it was like 30 or 29% or 27. It dropped like over 30%. I'm like, man, just a decision like that as a coach, that's unacceptable, really.
I'm pretty sure it was the Raiders who obviously fired their coach and made a change. I'm pretty sure it was the Raiders that did that this year. It was a bizarre. Somebody did it in the first half.
For some reason, I'm thinking it's Washington, the game I'm thinking of, but that was like years back. But it's just one game that stood out. But there's so many games like that where it's like, even like, I don't know, like, I just don't know how sometimes like they mess up clock management so bad or like certain decisions so bad.
Yeah, I mean, even Andy Reid, who's one of the best Reid coaches on the planet, has trouble with the timeouts and the
I
clock.
feel like you just need almost like a coach or someone there to help you with that. I don't know.
Bill Simmons has said that for years on ESPN. He's like, every team should have a dedicated just clock dork or even a really good Madden player. Like any good Madden player is better than some of these coaches.
I remember the Michigan against Kansas game. The basketball game when Trey Burke hit that 3 and stuff. Like leading up the last 2 minutes, I'm just like, it was like a minute 40. I'm like, foul. We're down like 7 or 8. It's like we're letting 40 seconds run off the clock, and it's like we're getting like all of a sudden we start fouling at like 40, 50 seconds. Like, why aren't we doing that like a minute 30, minute 40 when we're down like 7 or 8? Like, why we like? I don't know. We ended up coming back and like winning that game, but I'm just like, seems so bizarre. Like, and I love Beeline too, but like certain things like really like get me going sometimes in sports.
The not fouling up 3 thing has bitten Michigan State like 10 times in the last 3 years. So it's to say Izzo just won't. I mean, that's not a flub. That's a conscious choice. Throw up, Ben, the Michigan football schedule for 2024.
Oh gosh,
this is a fucking bloodbath.
It's so hard.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I've known about this for a while now.
I mean, and you know, your non-cons in the past couple of years, I'm sorry, have been a joke.
Course.
They've been a joke. You've been playing like UNLV
100%.
in Hawaii, but like Texas, USC, obviously, I mean, the Big Ten slate is what it is, but like this is one of the hardest schedules I think I've ever seen. I understand a couple of these teams now are Big Ten teams, but even if you just like kind of take that out of it, the non-traditional Big Ten teams, Washington, USC, and Oregon on top of the normal, and Texas on top of the normal Big Ten slate. I mean, what is a successful year for Sharon Moore here? 8-4, I would think is pretty good for a transition.
I feel like if you just make it to the playoffs, right? Like,
I don't think 8-4 is. Well, it depends what the 8 wins
with that
are.
Strength of schedule and how many teams now? 12.
It depends who you lose to. I mean, yeah, 8-4 can get there in the new. Yeah, with that schedule, yeah. Not on the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, you got the defending champion with the hardest schedule, 8-4. They might sneak in at 12 or 11 or something.
When do you need Sharon Moore in the Final Four? I mean, I know the format has expanded to 12. Like, when do you, as a Michigan fan, need that? You know, you've been there 3 years in a row. That should be the standard at Michigan. Like, is it year 3, year 4? How patient are you?
I don't know. I guess I don't really have a timeline. I guess that's tough to say. I guess every Michigan fan's would be a little bit different. Me, I don't know. I guess it just depends how we do and how we look and how we progress and how he does as a coach. I mean, it's tough to give those answers now. This is a dumb question though. How does the divisions change now that I haven't really paid too much attention with the Big Ten now that, you know, more teams are added? I
think it's just like the top 2 teams go to I'm pretty sure.
Did they get rid of the 2?
I'm pretty sure. And Ben, you can fact check me on that. I know that was definitely the discussion, and that was like the original report was that they were going to do like just the top 2 teams. But I don't know if that got final. That's a good question.
Because one's always stronger than the other, and it's just like,
well, it's not. It's always one is always
Ohio State, Michigan State.
Yeah, we had our run. We went 3 times.
I mean, you got the top 2 teams in the Big Ten in the same.
Was it 9-1 in the 10 years of the Big Ten East versus the West? The East beat the. I think it was. Did they go 10-0? I think it was 9-1.
Yeah, it was very lopsided.
The East just destroyed them all the time because it was Michigan State when they were good, and Ohio State.
Yeah, I think they did get rid of it because now they're talking about like how Michigan has the potential to play Ohio State like 3 times now.
Which I don't like that.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
It's kind of. I mean, it seems like it would be really hard to do. I mean, I guess not too hard with the. I mean, the Big Ten is going to be a lot tougher now, but I feel like they would kind of like keep them away from each other in the playoff.
It really should have happened last year. Ohio State had Georgia dead, and you guys had no business losing to TCU. That was, 2 pick sixes. You guys win that probably 8 out of 10 times, I feel like.
Yep.
That it was almost that would have been something. I mean, you guys kind of had their number at that point. Stroud never beat you, but yeah, I'm really interested to see both schools have a new coach. We're a fucking mess. I didn't get the coach I wanted. I'm giving him a shot. We'll see.
What's your timeline with them? Like how do you guys feel? Like,
well, how I feel is different. Hey, here's the thing. I have a higher standard for Michigan State than most people. There's a lot of la-di-da. If they go 8-4 by year 2, that's great. Like, to me, fuck that. That's a failure.
Yeah.
The best coaches do a lot better right away. Harbaugh turned over Michigan, did 10 wins after a 5-win season right away. We've seen that repeatedly with schools that on smaller levels. Even John L. Smith going back to the Louisville days, took over a 1-win program. They were 11 wins by year 3. I don't buy this whole 2 wins, 6 wins, 9 wins. I want to be in the playoff in year 2, or I'm highly skeptical.
You know what team I'm I was really surprised in the last decade and a half is how Texas has never been really good in the last decade
until just now.
Yeah, they have the biggest athletic basically they have the biggest sporting.
It's the biggest.
It's Texas. I mean, how
I've said it for years.
How are you not in the top 10 every year? As Texas.
Top 5.
Yeah.
And they're good years.
They're good now, but again, they were struggling for a while. But it's how
they were.
Look at high school football in Texas.
And we'll see how back they are. But they have such a recruiting hotbed. They have all the resources. I'd say the same thing. How is that not a perennial power?
Just look how much money is in the program in general and sports facilities and everything.
It's weird that they almost, I don't know how public this story is, but I know it's true. They almost hired Saban 10, 12 years ago. And there was one contract clause. They all have it. Alabama gave Saban an exception and Texas wouldn't grant him the exception. They call them different things, personal appearance clause or whatever. You have to make X amount of kind of golf outing appearances that, for alumni fundraising shit. And Saban's I don't want to be forced to do that. I'll kind of do it at my discretion. That's why Texas didn't get him.
Wow.
It's shit like that. There's a lot of old boy network down there. I think they're self-sabotaging to a certain degree. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't get how they're not a perennial. they should be what Alabama has been, you would think.
It's crazy to just see over time how sports is adjusting to learning the idea just for example baseball with the shifts and how they play defense now. It's you look at even something like hockey where it's they say the time they actually pull the goalie is with 5 minutes left or something like that. They're slowly inching to the 3 minutes or 3.5 minutes, sometimes pulling the goalie. They're getting out of their comfort zones with they're going for more on 4th down in football now. It's you can see we have computers and technology to tell us what's the correct play, and it's more teams are slowly adjusting to that style, but some coaches are still hard-headed in their old ways and doing certain things. I remember sorry, I don't mean to tell students. I played a poker tournament in South Africa. I got invited there, and I met he won the gold medal for rugby in South. Dude, he was the biggest celebrity I've ever been around with. Anywhere in Africa, these people would basically they would bow to him. It was so big. And I was asking, I'm I never understood in rugby is why they always punted the ball away sometimes. And then he's I never do that. He's I hate giving away the possession. He's it's so hard. He's that's the way to score is having possession. Why are you giving it away? He's why they punt when they don't have it in football, when they can't get it in 4 downs. Why do teams punt in rugby? And it's they just do that to switch field sometimes. And he just had this way of yeah, I don't do that. And it's just interesting hearing different perspectives.
There's a high school coach in a different state somewhere that's
doesn't kick field goals.
He doesn't kick or punt.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah. I saw it. It was 4th and 20. They're going for it.
Yeah, they just, and he's what is it? Isn't he the best coach in their state?
Yeah, they've won so many state titles and stuff like that.
I just don't punt.
Kids love playing for him because they just go for it all the time.
Yeah, it is like Madden. I mean, even at Madden 4th and 24 are probably sending Sam Martin out there to boot the ball away. I don't know. A perfect way to end this. Actually, I've told all my friends I'm a different person since that loss in Santa Clara. I was out there. Our mutual friend Wade Fink was there, not with me, but we were out there together. Josh Reynolds ruined my life that day with those 2 drops.
Oh gosh.
Where are you at? You're talking about this whole 4th down going for it shit. Where do you land? Let's end there. Where do you land on the, like, did you like the decision to go for it on 4th down? I mean, the play was there. He dropped it. What do you make of that? I would have kicked the field goal to go up 17.
I like it. I mean, I'm not a result oriented kind of guy. Like, I don't know. I thought it was a good, like, before he went for it, I didn't mind the decision, but, and obviously the play, I didn't mind the play, just the drop. Obviously it sucks. I mean, the whole game sucked. I mean, you could just feel it. Like, I don't know. I guess Lions fans just know, like, you knew something was, like, the tower is about to come down eventually. Like, you know.
But this team had bucked that. Like,
yes, I know. But
all year,
everyone still had it in the back of their head. Like,
for sure. That was brutal, man. You weren't there.
I felt the same way as the Lions as I did when I had, like, literally, like, over 100,000 on Atlanta beating Patriots because I was in a suicide league, and it was like thousands of people went all the way to the end.
You had Atlanta over New England?
Yeah.
Oh, it just went out right.
Yeah, there's like 7 or 8 people left in this massive suicide league. And I'm like trying to think, like, what's the better? Should I pick New England? How many people are going to, because you don't know, like, if 6 people are picking New England, 2 people pick, like, right, Atlanta, 4 and 4. It's like, do I pick a team that's up a field goal favorite? I ended up going with Atlanta, and you know the stories, 28-3 at half, and only like 2 or 3 people picked Atlanta, and like the other like 6 had Patriots, and I just knew, like, after the first touchdown, I'm like, I'm not winning this. And I had a Super Bowl party that day, and everyone was Patriots. Everyone's rooting for Brady. And I eventually went in the other room. I could just hear all the cheering. I'm like, I can't even watch this.
It was worse than 28-3.
That's how I felt with the Lions.
It was 28-3, like midway through the third quarter. I mean, it was later than halftime, and obviously our situation was a little different. My opinion, having been there, and like I talked to Wade, like he agreed. Talked to another buddy of mine that was there. We all agreed. I don't know what it was like on TV. They were the fans behind us were congratulating us, like, on that drive down the field as we're going down. We're up 14. You know, they came back, they got their field goal out of half. They were like, hey, I hope you guys beat the Chiefs, because the Chiefs had just upset the Ravens on the road. And I'm like, first of all, shut up. But yeah, that shows their degree of resignation.
Yes,
it was a fucking mausoleum in there. They were depressed.
How do you not? Like, I mean,
the fact they only got a field goal on that opening drive was deflating. I mean, they were like, we need a touchdown or else. Minutes before that failed conversion, they were dead. And you could see the body language on the sideline. The Lions were hopping. The 49ers were kind of droopy. When they missed that, it flipped and then never went back. They never got it back. And it's like, you don't know if he makes it. The play was there. Reynolds should have caught it. But I think if you kick, I think he makes it. And I think they're in the Super Bowl.
You're probably right.
So I hated it before the failed conversion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be the one to, like, defend the play. Like, I'm not going to, like, go online and be like, nah, it was the right way to, go for it. It's like, that was just my personal opinion. Like, you guys are probably right. I mean, I don't know.
The analytics are 50-50 almost. It was almost a coin flip. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, I didn't know what the analytics said there, but yeah, I liked going for it at the time. But I don't know. Sometimes I wonder why I watch sports and get so into sports, because it's like, man, it's like, it's so stressful sometimes. Like, just seeing that slip away, that was like so stressful.
I'm nowhere near over it. I don't know. Like, they have to win. Like, David Ortiz, I don't know if you're a Tigers guy. Like, I'm still not over. I was at the Fenway Park David Ortiz Grand Slam in 2013. I'm not over that. If they had won the World Series later, you can kind of breathe a little easier. But that Lions thing, it's like, man, I love the team this year. I think it's
just so hard to get there,
Exactly. That's what Campbell
So you can have a great team all year. I mean, Dallas always has a great team, and they never show up.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen 14-2 Colts teams with Manning at the heyday get bounced in the first round. I mean, it's so hard. And not only to get to the NFC Championship game, but to have a 17-point lead in the third quarter of the NFC Championship game. It's, even if you end up making the Super Bowl, the chances of you ever being in that high of a win probability, which they were, their win probability in game was like 93% in the third quarter. I'm never going to get over it. I do love this team, though, going forward. I think they're equipped to repeat and maybe take the next
Football
step.
is such, like, one of those unforgiving sports. Like, you look at basketball, it's like 7-game series, the better team's going to inch it out. Like just majority of the time, it's like football. It's like one pivotal turnover, just a bad snap. It's like so many little things can just unhinge a whole like season or a run. It's just it's tough. You want how Brady did it all those years.
It's all the more impressive. Yeah, I would argue the Lions played their best game in the one playoff game they lost. I mean, they could have lost against either the Bucs or the Rams prior. The Lions' best half of those 6 halves
was the first half.
Was the first half of the game they lost. I mean, they looked like they were going to roll the Chiefs, and I'll go to my grave thinking the Lions should have won the Super Bowl.
It would have been a cool storyline too. The first game of the year to beat the Chiefs and then play them in the Super Bowl. It's like
I think we were.
It seemed like that was the storyline, like that was going to happen after the half. You're like, wow,
it was there. They have to redeem it. Joe Cada, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
I held you way over, man.
No, it's cool. Thanks for having me. I didn't feel like it was that long at all. I enjoyed being here.
I'd love to have you back, and I'll try to get to, I always apologize to my guests. It's like a sauna in here. We're both just like dripping sweat. But
I sure wore a t-shirt. I'm a little sweaty.
Oh, man. The second, I had a football player that wore a coat the whole time and was sweating. I'm like, you can take that off. He's like, no, I'm cool. All right. Cool. All right. But I appreciate you, man. And Ben, great job by you. We got a lot rolling. I'd love to have you back, Joe, at some time if you're
anytime
if you're up for it.
Yep.
And maybe we'll bring in Ryan. That'd be cool.
Well. Yeah, I'll get Ryan to join me.
Joe Cada, Spiro Avenue Show, Justin Spiro, Ben, Eric, love you guys. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Thanks.